Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla Battleline video, and today I am reviewing Godzilla 1954. Now, I did get him on day one, just purely coincidence, so if you watched yesterday's video, you saw it. And I've been playing around with him last night and this morning, and I have a few thoughts. Obviously, my thoughts can change as the game goes on, if he gets buffed, if he gets nerfed, but this is my general first impressions of this unit, whether or not I think he's worth a slot in your deck or not. So, Godzilla 1954, what does he do? Well, he has actually pretty high health for a 4-star just to start out, so at higher levels he could possibly be a solid tank. He's just a little expensive at 7 energy. He cannot be a leader, so that you don't have to worry about putting him in the leader slot, but he has a very unique on-death ability. Now, we've gotten 2 on-death ability characters in a row, Burning Godzilla and Godzilla 1954. So, Godzilla 1954, you can see him on the screen in my hand right there, he's 7 energy. What he does is when he dies, he has the ability to transform into any of the other Godzilla units in the game that's not Godzilla 21. We don't know why Legendary Godzilla is excluded from this pool, but he is. So Godzilla 1954 on death can become G89, he can become Kiryu, he can become Ultima, and he can become Burning Godzilla. Now, also, whenever he becomes one of these units, they have a reduced cost. So Burning Godzilla is 5 energy to drop on the field. Well, if your 1954 becomes Burning, Burning is now 3 cost energy, which is huge. An additional bonus to that is he doesn't just become whatever they are equivalent to his level. He grabs them from your collected characters. So if my Godzilla 1954 became my Ultima, I would then have a level 10 Ultima on the field for 4 energy, which is kind of insane, right? Something that we tested yesterday on the server, I have this written down, so excuse me if I mess up the reading, but what happens with these characters is they will not receive certain buffs. So there are buffs in the game like G89 and Kong that will buff units above a certain energy threshold. So for G89, he buffs units that are 6+ energy. Kiryu is normally 6+ energy and would receive this buff from Godzilla 89. But when Kiryu is on the field at the reduced 4 cost, he will not receive these buffs. So that is something that you guys should be aware of. That is very important to know, is that if you are planning on using a lower cost monsters and taking advantage of some of these buffs, it's not going to work. But Godzilla 1954 is a long-range unit, Burning Godzilla is a long-range unit, Kiryu is a long-range unit, and Godzilla Ultima is a long-range unit, so they'll all benefit from a Biollante buff. Basically, any buff that isn't restricted by energy cost, they will benefit from. So just something to keep in mind. I think it's important to note. Next, every death, Godzilla 1954 will reset. So this was something that I didn't think was going to be the case, but it is, and it kind of made me a little bit upset with the unit. So this is probably my biggest gripe with the character, but I guess it makes sense for gameplay. When you place Godzilla 1954 for 7 energy and he dies, he will become one of the Godzillas that we listed. When one of those Godzillas dies, they will revert back to Godzilla 1954. So every second death, Godzilla 1954 is going to re-roll again what unit he can be. This is can be a great strategy to keep some of your opponent's units on their toes, you know? Like, you don't know if you're going to get a Burning or a Kiryu, so it does add a ton of variety to your deck, but the reset is so expensive. So say I use 1954, and then I get Burning Godzilla, which is 3 energy. He dies pretty quickly, right? So imagine he dies. So now I've just spent 10 energy to go through 1954 for him to die, for him to become Burning, for then Burning to die, and then I'm gonna have to spend another 7 energy to go and use 1954 again, and then maybe I'll get Kiryu for 4 energy. Okay, whatever. At early levels, I don't think he is worth it solely based on his reroll capacity. Because a lot of early game players aren't going to have like level 6 Kiryus, level 7 Burnings, you know, level 10 Ultimas, like level 30 G89s. A level 30 G89 dropping on the field at 5 energy is kind of insane. So, like, that is something definitely to be considering. If you have a lot of high units and you want to make the most of them, use Godzilla 1954 because he's going to be able to cycle out a bunch of these units, but just know if you're relying on some kind of buff that's energy gated, they're not going to get it. Another thing is, I know a lot of people have been asking me about making an entire deck made out of just Godzilla units. This Godzilla, if you put him in a deck with all the other transformations that are available, he's not going to transform, he's just going to come back as a 7 cost energy. If you have him at like level 5 or 6 and you wanted to run this strategy, I think he actually would be a very powerful 7 cost unit for you to put in your deck in place of G89 if you wanted to use G89 to give a buff to all the other Godzillas, since he is, I'm pretty sure, the only Godzilla leader that's not Kiryu. And Kiryu, I think you want to use him on the field, right? And you can buff him, and you can buff G9. It should be an expensive deck to go all Godzillas, and 1954 won't evolve, he'll just stay the same. In the future, when we get, we're going to inevitably, obviously, get a lot more Godzilla units. I feel like they'll just add him, or add them to his kit over and over and over again, and, you know, he'll be able to transform into maybe 10 different Godzillas. I think overall in the future, Godzilla 1954 is a unit that we're gonna want to invest in, because the variety of the units that he's going to be able to output, I think, is going to be very crazy eventually. But as it stands right now, for newer players, it's going to be very tough to utilize him properly, because you're not going to have a lot of the units he can become leveled up significantly. But for someone like me, like I have a level 10 Ultima, I have a level 5 Kiryu, I have a level 3 Burning, I have a level 28 G89. Like, these are all units at a reduced price I would love to use. The biggest thing with Godzilla 1954 is his price is so expensive, but for the price you get a lot of these other units. So his attack is solid, it matches Burning's, you know, it's, you know, decent for a 4-star unit. His health is kind of high for a 4-star, so as he levels up, that's going to be really great to see. But just his energy cost to reroll, it's going to take you the lowest amount of energy you need for a reroll is 10. Because it's 7 to place him, and then 3 for burning, and so that's 10 energy, and then you're going to go back to Godzilla 1954, so then another 7, so 17 for 2 rerolls. That's a lot of energy to be dispensing out, so I don't think that you should be focusing on using him as your main damage dealer. I think he's great utility to have, because he can just drop in several different units. You know, it's just going to be very expensive. He could be good in a good push, and you could drop a Kiryu, or you could use a speed buff with a G89 at a reduced cost, but it's very situational, because he can definitely deal out damage on his own, and he, you know, it takes him a little while to die, even at level 1. Like, these aren't fixed battles on the screen that you're watching, these are him at level 1, and he's getting like some hits in that are doing like a decent amount of damage, and it's taking him about 2 to 3 hits depending on the unit to go down. So he's only going to get tankier as he evolves, but he's also meant to kind of, you know, die so you can get other units, and it's just going to be a lot to handle and a lot of energy output. So if you're going to use him in a deck, I recommend Energy Collector, just to get that energy back fast. It's going to be like a net negative anyway with the 6. It costs 6 energy to use Energy Collector. You get a total of 8 energy over 45 seconds, but you're going to want that kind of energy to try and crank him out if you're going to go for him specifically. So overall, those are my general thoughts. Is he good in a deck? I think that you could slot him in. If you're a whale or a long-time player, I think you could slot him in, because even if you get G89 and you have a high level one, that's going to be really good. If you're a new player to the game, if you only have a few 4-stars, and this is one of them, when you rent out a unit in the all-star battles, it gives them to you at level 1. So if you don't have a Kiryu, but it comes into your hand during the Jet Jaguar event, right, or the Space Godzilla event that we just had, they're going to be level 1. The same for Godzilla 1954. So if you're a new player and you get Kiryu in your hand, it's going to be a level 1 Kiryu, right? You get an Ultima and you don't have it. It's going to be a level 1 Ultima. The levels are only going to correspond to the ones that you actually own, and if you don't own the characters, they're going to be level 1. So if you're a brand new player and you don't have many 4-star units, I think that he actually might be an easy way to just get a 1-up on some of your opponents that might not know what's going on. But if you're like in the mid game, I don't know if you're going to want to use him. I don't think that 1954 is an optimal way of progressing and an optimal unit. I think he's nice to have on your team. I do not think he's required. I don't think he's meta breaking. I don't think he's earth shattering. But if you're a whale and you just kind of want to switch it up and have a fun deck that's going to be confusing to your opponent, get a 1954, because honestly, like, I'll see that in the deck and I'll be like, okay, great. Now I'm looking out for other Godzillas in the deck. If I don't see any of the other Godzillas in the deck, then that's like what? Burning, Ultima, Kiryu, G9. That's like 4 different units that possibly could be dropped. I don't know when and I don't know how. So I think it's definitely more of a fun deck. I definitely don't think he's a very strategical piece. He's a big energy cost. So that's my main gripe with him. If he was like 2 energy less, I think he would be the best unit in the game. Or not the best, but one of the best. The high energy cost definitely makes it a lot like really taxing on using him on your team. So that's basically what I want to get across. Had to do a weird cut there. Something just happened with the computer. But regardless, in any case, I'm just going to try to wrap it up with my final thoughts. I like Godzilla 1954. I think he can be a decently utilized unit in the proper hands, but I think that if the unexperienced players are using him thinking that it's going to give them a leg up, I'm afraid that it might just end up being an energy sink for them. I definitely think, like all the units, whales are going to get the most benefit out of this. Mid-game players especially actually are going to get a lot of benefit out of him. If you've been playing the game as long as I have, I've been playing since global launch, but honestly, I don't even think you need to go that far. If you've been playing the game for like 4 months, 5 months, you know, maybe even 3 months, you probably have a decent amount of 4 stars, a decent amount of points in G89 and stuff like that. He's one of the first units you get. Mid-game players might actually see a lot of benefit from him just wanting to cycle through a lot of their units. I do not believe that, you know, 1954 switching to Kiryu counts for like Kiryu challenges and stuff like that. It's just going to count as 1954. But, I like him. Overall, mid-game players, late-game players, use him at your discretion. He definitely can switch it up and be confusing for your opponent. Early-game players, I don't know if you're going to want to run him just because his transformations might be a little weak. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked this review. I know I kind of ramble on for a lot, but I just wanted to talk about the unit, get my point across. I like him. I don't think he's necessary in your deck, but I think mid and late game players are going to see benefit from him. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts on this unit down below. Did you get him already? Are you excited to get him? What are your thoughts on his kit? It's extremely unique. Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.